Morning, good.
Hey, so Tuck Holloway was one of the best returners in the country a couple years ago, but dealt with injury last year. How's his rehab process going? And then if he's able to get back, what does that do for special teams?
Yeah, he's 100%. He's been fully cleared. He's ready to go. He's gained some weight and some muscle. I'm excited about what Tuck, looking back on the season, even though Jay Lane did an admirable job, clearly, Tuck was pretty special. And to get him back as a returner, to get him in that rotation at receiver, and he's an outstanding leader, high character, brings a lot to our team.
Coach, we're talking about Kyron and just as a leader, maybe even more so as a quarterback, as a leader, what he's been means to this team, and then when he's doing his thing.
Yeah, honestly, Kyron's grown a bunch as a leader. And as he mentioned in the press conference, he's got his own way of doing it, and probably early on, I was trying to steer it to maybe the way that I believed it should be done, and that was wrong. Wasn't fair to him. He's got his own strengths in how he leads our group. He's got tremendous respect from our players. He's a really hard worker. They now fully realize how tough he is and how committed he is. So he's in a good place from a leadership standpoint.
You guys are going to open with South Carolina in the Big Ten. And of course, their coach Shane Beamer is a Virginia Tech grad. Have you talked to him at all about his feelings and your feelings about playing this game? And,
No.
Just all his history up there with Coach Beamer?
No, I hadn't talked to him about it. I asked his dad a couple of weeks ago. I said, Coach, what do you think about this opener we got? I just want both teams to play well. It was awesome. But I got a lot of respect for Shane. He was playing at Tech when I was coaching there the first time. And, outstanding young man then and outstanding person, great family, loves Tech the way we do. It's a really intriguing matchup that way.
Do you expect him to feel at all uncomfortable about trying to beat his alma mater?
Oh, no, absolutely not. As coaches, we're all about winning, man. It doesn't matter. It could be your dad on that other sideline. You're going to want to win.
Thank you.
Coach, how do you stop him more so as the key?
Yeah, I think slowing down or containing is a better word. I don't know if you ever stop him. I think we're fortunate because we have a guy in Kyron Jones that has some similar traits that, our defense working against Kyron day in and day out can help us. But obviously you have to have a special plan to minimize what he can do.
What about AJ Brand? He's in our area.
Yeah, be a great scout team look for us. Yeah, this AJ could play a lot of positions on our football team. And he's big and strong, and he'll be a great look for us preparing for South Carolina. Oh, he's quarterback. Yeah, I'm just saying he could. Yeah, don't put words in my mouth. Get me in trouble with his daddy.
New offensive line coach from West Virginia this year, as well as some new transfers. What do you see from that position group this year? Do you see that being a strength for you guys?
Yeah, the position we've grown the most. Playing together, playing with great technique. It's the most athletic line we've had since I've been here. The two guys that will start for us that transferred in from West Virginia, Kyle Altuner and Tomas Rimac, those guys they've been coached well. They bring a lot to the group. They're technicians, they're workers, they're great kids. Coach Moore is a tenacious recruiter and a tenacious developer. He's brought a lot to the program.
Coach, you have one of the arguably best college football entrances of all time.
Yeah, the best.
Arguably. How about talk about how that can help your team this year as you guys go in to try to continue to have a more dominant presence out there?
Yeah, I think we sell out all our football games, and we got a great entrance, as you said. I mean, our players love that. Who wouldn't? You run out to that, it's going to get you pretty psyched to play a good football game. We're fortunate that way. We've got an incredible fan base. They're passionate. They're diehards. They were disappointed just like we were, in how the season ended. And they're going to have high expectations just like we do. That's Virginia Tech.
What was the give and take like between you and Kyron and his family as you all determined, is he going to play? Are we going to shut him down? Because clearly the young man wanted.
Yeah, obviously his health is always comes first. And, we trust the medical experts. Kyron, we're in fourth quarter of the Clemson game. He's got 3 different issues going on. He went into the game with one, got another one in the first quarter, and another one in the beginning of the fourth quarter where I couldn't ask him to do it, and he didn't want to come out. So protecting his health is ultra important. And, a healthy Kyron Jones is certainly really good for us. That's why we in the off season here, we took the time out and did a procedure to give us the best percentage, best opportunity that he has a healthy year.
So he went into Clemson with a foot. What else happened in Clemson?
Yeah, so he got a turf toe early in the game, and then he sprained an MCL, either late third quarter, and had to go back out with a knee brace on. One of his greatest strengths is his mobility and and he just wasn't able to move around.
Can you say which area the procedure was on?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into all that, but he was banged up. He was probably 80%, 70% in the Georgia Tech game. You go back and watch the film. We didn't call his number to run the ball much at all.
So, in your mind, Stanford was the last time you thought like you had a complete quarterback?
Correct. Yeah, I think Miami and Stanford. He played well and he was healthy.
Beyond the injury side of Kyron, how do you feel like he and Monty have bonded his quarterback?
Yeah, he said it in the press conference. I think, the fact that Phil is a quarterback guy has really been impactful for Kyron. To see it through the lens that Kyron sees it through. A combination of him and the offense that he brings, it caters to Kyron's strengths. And Phil was probably in town about a week, and I ran into Kyron in the hallway, and I said, what do you think of the offense? 3 words, I love it, which, put a smile on my face. You hope he's going to, you believe he will, you believe it's right for him, but I think both those guys are pretty excited about the promise of what we can do.
Where are you in the running back group?
Yeah, we went to the portal and took 3 guys to make sure that room is what it needs to be. And we've got some young guys in the program we're excited about. But from Jeremiah Coney to Tyler Mason, and then you've got Terrion Stewart, who's a proven back, and he's done it against some good people. I don't know if we have Bashaw Tootin in the room, but a combination of those guys, we can have a productive rushing attack.
Coach, I know Ferg is somewhat of a local guy, so social media lit up when the promotion was made. Aside from helping guys physically, mentally, just the respect that he's earned over the past few years, what's that been like to witness that?
Yeah, when I evaluated things after the season, in my mind, we clearly weren't physically or mentally tough enough. And I've got a guy sitting here as an assistant in Jarrett Ferguson, and that's who he is. That's who he was as a player, which I saw firsthand. That's who he's been as an assistant strength coach, keeping up with him all these years. So the things that we needed, he gave us the best opportunity to do it and do it quickly. So very pleased with how things have gone.
Back to Kyron, he said the 2 weeks in the spring before you shut him down, getting some reps was crucial for him to understand the offense. How crucial was that for you to at least get him some reps, get him a feel of Monty's offense before you did shut him down?
Yeah, that was obviously a lot of conversations, a lot of dialogue about when and how and what's the right time, and so he got through, I believe it was 8 practices, and honestly, his last practice before we shut him down was his absolute best. Ran the offense really well, all practice long, a lot of success, good timing, good rhythm, kind of what you want to see. So I think it timed out pretty good.
He said he was ready for week 3. What types of conversations was that to say, hey, the best interest in you, let's get you shut down?
Yeah, we needed to, long term, right? Long term, what gives him the best chance. In fairness to him, I want him to have the year that he can have for himself, and we obviously need him to have that kind of year for us.
Coach, when the transfer portal opens, programs want to be prepared to jump on kids early and whatever. How do you approach the task of scouting the entire country when everyone's a free agent every year?
Yeah.
It seems like an impossible task.
You're always building your list, and we're adding staff to evaluate other teams' rosters all season long. You're building that list, particularly of guys in our footprint that we could know a lot about. Maybe guys we recruited that went somewhere else, guys that maybe we didn't offer but we really liked. We're going to track those guys. Obviously, guys from the state of Virginia, but also our footprint. It's just where the game is right now. If you're not doing that, you're not going to be ready when it does open. So we got a big board of high school. We got a big board of transfers.
We met the two new coordinators in January. It's been 7 months. What has the discourse kind of been like for your staff, for the team, and how do you build that chemistry and gel in such a short amount of time?
First of all, they're both great people. They're very relatable. They work hard at the relationship piece with the coaches and the players. That was all important in the hiring process, that they would be those type of guys. Number one, that's right for me. It's right for Virginia Tech, and I want that for our players. So they're not just quality play callers. They're great people that care about these kids as more than just football players.
Coach, there's a lot of talk about the close games, the one-score games, but you guys never really let go of the rope in those games. You stayed in the fight. They didn't get out of hand. You talk about the toughness that when you stayed in those games, stayed in the fight, but then how you find that little bit of extra edge to kind of push you over the top to where you turn those L's into W's.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just what you said. It's going to take a little more guys to win those type of games. It's going to take better decision making from myself and our coaches, and it's going to take a little bit more will, determination, and execution to win those games down the stretch.
Let me ask you also about the offensive coordinator. You kind of had to make that hire late in the process. What did that process look like for you guys, and what does he bring to the table for Virginia Tech? Also, if I'm not mistaken, he worked with RG3 in the past, right? So how do you think that's going to translate into getting the most out of Kyron, who's also a dual threat guy?
Yeah, that was part of the process. That was one of the things that was attractive about Phil, was his development of quarterbacks. So not just RG3. There's 4 or 5 of them that had great college careers and went on and played in the NFL. And then a proven offense. But, obviously having conversations with all the coaches postseason, where we need to grow as play callers. Where did Tyler Bowen need to grow? What do we need to do better? So you have an idea of what you want things to kind of move towards. And so when Tyler left, it gave me the opportunity to go full throttle into what I felt we needed there. So I had a pretty good idea already of what we wanted.
Coach, in April, Bashal Newton was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously a huge part of the offense last year. What is he going to bring to the Jaguars this season?
Listen, they're probably realizing now how fortunate they are that they took him. He is an outstanding young man. He's a very just diverse back. I mean, he's a well-rounded back. He's tough. He's fast. He's explosive. He can make you miss. He can, run through you. He can outrun you. He's a returner. He improved his ball skills. He's improved his pass pro. I think he's got a chance to have a nice career there.
Coach, let me ask you about Kyron real quick. You've obviously seen him make the big plays in games, but when you're not healthy, it's hard to do that. But you talked about him being willing to go out there, and you basically got to protect him from himself when he's injured.
Yeah.
But how does him being willing to put his body on the line and go to war, even injured, how does that galvanize his status as a leader of this team going into the season?
Yeah, I think it earns respect pretty quickly. And honestly, we kept it under wraps. We kept it really tight. Even our players didn't know what was going on. And in the end, that was probably a disservice to them and to Kyron. Because once they fully understood what he was really dealing with, the narrative changed.
Coach, week 1 for Beamer Bowl, can you just talk about going up against Shane in South Carolina?
Yeah, again, a lot of respect for Shane and the job he's done there. I think he's got a tremendous staff. They've recruited very well. We recruit against them in our own state, with their ties to Virginia. He and his staff. We recruit against them in South Carolina, which we have ties there. So we're dealing with those guys a lot. And, arguably a team that could have slid in the playoffs and won a game or two. Very talented, a lot of momentum, well coached. We got our hands full.
And you said in there you have a lot to prove in Blacksburg. How much do games like that kind of give you that opportunity?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's the way our players look at it. It is an opportunity.
Coach,
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, you kind of mentioned earlier about how you guys kept the injury with Kyron, kind of under wraps as tight as you could. With the new ACC player availability policy that's coming this season, what's your thoughts on that? And then, what's kind of is there a coaching strategy to that? And
I wasn't in favor of it. I think everybody's going to kind of bull their way through it anyways. I don't know how much more people are really going to learn. But we'll work within the rules.
Coach, there's been a lot of talk about, obviously, the matchup South Carolina State Beamer. Who do you think Frank would pull for? Do you think it'd have to be a half and half jersey? Maybe he spends the first half on one sideline, the second. Is it a head versus heart question? Where do you think he would stand?
Obviously he loves his son first. He loves Virginia Tech an awful lot, but he loves his son first.
Football in the South.
Yeah, I think if you asked his, Frank's wife, she'd be like, my son is where it's at. Are you kidding me? I asked him a couple of weeks ago, we got an interesting one to open the season with. And he said, I just want both teams to play really well. It's pretty awesome for him and his family, I think, to have this, this game. It's a great setup. Appreciate the folks that planned it. It's an awesome opportunity for our team, but the connection between the Beamers and Virginia Tech, and it's got a nice storyline to it.
Brent, even with Kyron healthy, after what happened last season, and you and Coach Montgomery discussed, how prudent will it be to run him X number?
Yeah, we're going to certainly be more intentional about how and when his number's called to run the ball. And it's everything from, I think we all saw the end of 23 and some of last year. There are times where Kyron should have slid, and he's throwing a shoulder down and trying to run somebody over, and certainly capable of it. Yeah. He's got to be, more mindful, and we have to be more purposeful in what we call to make sure that we get a full season out of him.
You mentioned the end of 23. The end of 23, those last 4 games, I think you guys averaged 43 points a game. How do you get him and the offense? You're not going to average 43 points a game, I don't think.
Yeah.
But how do you get it back to approaching that?
Yeah, I think it's rhythm and consistency. When you watch our games last year, you didn't feel that a lot. Now, there were injuries which complicate rhythm. But I didn't feel that, as a play caller, and I didn't feel it with our kids. I've been on that side where defensively you get in a rhythm, and it's like everything you do is going right, and it just kind of builds on each other. We didn't hit that enough last year. I didn't feel that way about what our offense was doing enough last year.
Coach, you guys lost a lot from the wide receiver room, but you also replaced it with a lot of talent with, the guys that you brought in, the transfers. Can you talk about what you've seen from that group so far for the season?
Yeah, Donovan Green has got a chance to be one of the better wideouts in this league, I believe. He verticaled 42 inches yesterday. He's long, he's athletic. Cam Selden, one of the fastest guys on the team. He's got some running back qualities that he brings to the position. Aiden Green, tremendous ball skills. You've seen some of it in game. I've seen it day in and day out in practice. This guy can about go get anything. I think Benji Gosnell as a tight end is ready to take another step forward and be a good target for us. Then we've got some depth in some guys, Takai Heath and Brody Adams and Tucker Holloway. It's a good room that way. I like where it's at.
You mentioned that Altuve will start. That's a young center.
Yeah.
Do you have any reservations there?
I did, and when Matt Moore said, listen, this guy will start for us, because we're in discussions with Braylon Moore about transferring and things, but when Matt Moore said he's going to start, I was like, redshirt freshman. I fully am all in now, because he doesn't act, play, or anything about him seems like a redshirt freshman. He's a darn good football player. Darn good football player. He can move. He's smart. He's tough. I really like what he's going to do for our front. He'll be a captain one day.
Is that an example, Brent, of having to make a decision financially? Okay, we've got some.
Yeah,
we want to invest in the returner versus the young man we have here.
There were several decisions like that. You got to look at the inventory that's out there, and what would it cost versus what would it cost to retain a guy. Some positions there's more value than others, and sometimes that also inventory plays a role in that. I love Mose Phillips. I didn't want to see Mose leave, but the business aspect of it and the inventory and what for our football team, its best interest was to be able to move on, and it worked out. It worked out well for us, and I hope it works out well for him. We were able to go to the portal and secure some really good guys, a number of them at that position.
Coach, it's talking season. It's easy to get up here and say all the bravado and rah-rah and everything. But what it comes down to is when that ball snapped, you guys go against South Carolina, the wins and losses. Could you just talk about how, yes, for Virginia Tech, it would be great to win that game, but just for the ACC as a whole, when it often feels like the ACC has kind of been portrayed as a secondary conference to the Big Ten and the SEC?
Yeah, I think it is a big, it adds to the storyline. It adds to the game. Every time the ACC steps outside the league to play the SEC or Big Ten, it's important. I believe in our league. I love our league. I love our tradition. I love the talent. I love the coaches. I love the climate. I love the combination of academics and athletics. I love our league. But, we also have to step outside and go win some of those games against some of these other leagues, which I think we're positioned, as a league, we're positioning ourselves to do that.
Coach, can I follow up on that real quick? We've seen some things like with Indiana where they canceled some of the bigger matchups. They're like, it's not really worth it anymore. But with the conversation of ACC versus SEC Big Ten, you've been in other conferences, you've seen it firsthand. Would you kind of like to see, almost like basketball with the Big Ten ACC, where you have those tough out-of-conference games where you say, okay, you can talk all you want, but let's go settle it on the field and really show that these conferences are much closer than some people might think?
Yeah. I think, everybody's taking a look at scheduling right now. We're making some adjustments to position ourselves to have the type of schedule that we need from a viewership standpoint, winnable game standpoint, home games. There's a lot that goes into building out that schedule that really feels right. So we're working through some things right now and making some adjustments, as most teams are probably going to do. But, I love the opportunity for us. I think particularly a neutral site game is intriguing to me.
Brent, there's been plenty of talk among coaches, commissioners about the college football playoff and whether it should expand past 12. Should conferences get more than one auto bid? What are your thoughts on expansion?
Yeah, I'm okay with expansion. What's important to me is we're not rewarding teams for past experiences, past successes. Like, it's a whole new season. So let it play out how it's supposed to play out and take the best teams into the playoffs. Not because they won last year or won the year before. That's not how it works. Especially now in today's game with the transfer portal. Teams can flip the script like that. So I don't. That's what I want to see. Earn your way into the playoffs, man.
Coach, you got a game coming up in November against Florida State. You've played it before at Campbell Stadium. What are your expectations? I know it's one game at a time and you're focused on South Carolina, but if you could just look ahead a little bit there, Florida State coming off a 2-10 season, kind of what are your expectations that you're expecting to see against that team?
Yeah, I don't have any right now. I got a ton of respect for Mike. I know they're going to bounce back. I don't doubt that one bit. It's a challenging place to play. They got a good fan base, got good tradition. Mike will have them ready. But again, we got a lot of games to be played before then. A lot can happen. Wins, losses, injuries, all kinds of things.
Coach, completely off topic. Division III, I played at Randolph League in Virginia, kind of doing a story in Division III. The landscape of college football, where does that fall, and how special is Division III football?
Oh, I love it. You just want opportunities for guys to continue to play. And, I was part of that Pennsylvania Division II league, the PSAC, one of the strongest small college leagues in the country for years and years. 14 teams, championship game, so much pride and tradition. IUP in Edinburgh and East Stroudsburg and Slippery Rock. I loved it. And those guys had, an awesome experience as well, playing it in East Stroudsburg, just like playing in a Virginia Tech or a Penn State. So I love small college ball. I cut my teeth in it, and so did my dad. Both my brothers played small college ball.
What stood out to you about Kelvin?
Say it again?
What stood out to you about Kelvin and how he's grown as a leader?
I think it was evident there, right? He is a confident young man. He is wanting to lead this football team. And not just when times are good. He is the guy that steps up no matter, says what needs to be said. When he made a commitment to return, that was part of the conversation. I'm not just coming back to come back. I'm coming back to lead this team and to turn this thing around.
Is that how he was when you recruited him, or has he grown into that?
He's grown into that. But his dad's wired that way too. Like it's in him, and I knew that. And it's just time. Just like it's Jaden Keller's time. It's their time.
How do you feel about where Kyron Jones is at in his recovery from injury? Obviously, shut down again for a few practices this spring. How do you feel where he's at?
Yeah, I feel good about it. He's fully cleared. He's doing everything. He's running. He's throwing. There's nothing noticeable. I'm very encouraged by where he's at. And I think we're all always going to be just kind of holding our breath slightly that he stays healthy. He's a big old guy that plays hard as crap. Guys get hurt. In other positions, you play that hard, you're big and strong, you get hurt. But we're going to do a better job of protecting him, and he is too. But I feel good about where he's at.
Three defensive tackles coming in via the portal this spring. One, how do you feel your defensive tackle room has kind of embraced this further deepening of that room, and what went into bringing in that many defensive tackles?
Yeah, first of all, I know it starts up front. If you're not decent up front, you're gonna have a problem stopping people. So I loved our first group. We had some talented young guys at tackle, but were they going to be ready to go beat South Carolina? I don't know. Maybe, but let's not take the chance. Let's go get some older guys. Cody Heisman, Hickman. Let's go get these guys that have played. They're mature. They got size and strength. They come in and complement the guys we got.
Then, obviously, I think we've talked about this a little bit before, but Jared Ferguson coming in. How do you feel about what he's been able to do in that room, especially now as we progress towards close ball camp being a week out?
Yeah, I couldn't be more pleased. The areas where we needed to grow in our off-season program, he's addressed each one of them. And it's who he is. It's who he was as a player. So he's done a tremendous job. He and his staff have done a tremendous job.
Thanks, Coach.
Good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you.